Hello, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Misug. I'm the CEO of Seongnam City Youth Foundation. So I'm so glad to have you here and to meet you tonight. Actually, here, 7 p.m. So now you are in it's a 12 noon. Is it noon over there?
More or less.
More or less.
Yes.
Okay. So now I'm here, and I came back from a office, but Bohui is still workplace. So even in Korea, we have different place, working. So work pattern has been changed a lot. So anyway, now let's begin the 2020 Seongnam City Youth Foundation Global Youth Expert Forum, which is the focus on youth work and the new normal. Okay, actually, I would like to let you know that this forum is jointly organized by Korea Association for Core Competency Education. Okay, so today. Today's meeting forum, the one of the most important mission of today's forum is to say hello to you guys and to look at your face on the same space and to console each other what we have gone through all the difficult times. Okay, so and to encourage each other. Okay, so anyway, today actually last year, November 29, 2019, 14 months ago, you guys remember how we are happy. We were happy, so vivid, so live communication each other, and get together, eat together, drink together. It seems a long time ago. So I miss so much of the times. We hope next year, we will together each other offline. Okay, but today, but still, I'm very glad to have you guys here, and we try to talk each other and to share what we have gone through under COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, so this is just as I told you, this is just the number one mission is to say hello, to console each other. Okay, so feel free and feel comfortable. Okay, today's the topic is just a change in the lives of the youth and the challenge in the areas of youth labor markets and education and training, and as well as leisure, all the lives of the youth and youth leaders. Okay, depending on the situation, the country's context, the effect of COVID-19 has been different, I guess. But and also the way how to deal with the youth problem, youth activity must be different too. So we just each of you guys will take different point of view and different activities experience. Just is okay. Just communicate, exchange our experience. Okay, our experience and our efforts and our experiment. We have made a lot of experiments during these times. And actually in Korean word, crisis meaning two things. One is risk. The other is opportunity. Okay. So we will try to make opportunity to by overcoming the risk. Okay, this is the crisis in Korean word. So Actually, we can find some opportunity and chances of different alternative ways to make service to youth. Okay, so this is a bright side, but as you all know that the dark side is many things. Okay, so even both bright and dark sides. Okay, just let's share the experience. Okay, and the I will invite first panelist. She is the Miss Bohui Kim. She is working the Department of Youth Policy in Seongnam City Youth Foundation. She is my colleague, as you know. She's one of the best young colleagues in our institution. So, okay, boy, please start. Okay.
Thank you. Can you guys all hear me
Yes.
clearly? Yes. Okay, so I am very happy to meet you all. My name is Bohui Kim from Seongnam City Youth Foundation, as introduced. And thank you all for joining us for this forum. The theme of our forum today is the youth work and the new normal. And we are honored to have you on board with us and hope that our exchange today will have a positive and meaningful effect in youth work around the world. So, okay, so the table of contents. So we will begin by introducing the participants of today. And then we will have presentations of each panelist on the topic of your field of expertise, about 10 minutes per person. And then we will move on to open discussion session. Okay. So here is our host and guests of today. So as introduced, the moderator is Misug Jin, Chief Executive Officer of our foundation. And my name is Bohui Kim. And the first panelist is Konstantinos Stergiou. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. From Greece, thank you. He is youth trainer, educator, career consultant, business consultant, and economist. And today he will talk about the resilient youth and future skills. Okay. And then Ondrej Barta from Czech Republic. Nice to see you. Yes, so Mr. Barta is freelance researcher and consultant on youth and youth policy. And today the topic for his presentation is youth work in Europe in light of COVID-19 in youth research. And next is Dr. Raluca Diroescu from Romania. Okay, she is the coordinator of the Youth at Work Strategic Partnership on Youth Employability and Entrepreneurship of Erasmus Plus national agencies. And today she will talk about using the power of social innovation and youth work amid the COVID-19 pandemic. And last but not least, Alena Ignatovitch from Belarus, Dr. Ignatovitch, Head of Youth Policy and Socio-Cultural Communication Department, National Institute for Higher Education in Minsk, Belarus. And today she will share information about the changes in the role of youth leaders, teachers, and parents with the increase of online activities due to COVID-19. Okay. So I will, as the hosting party, I will begin by introducing some of our works, youth works of 2020. So the outbreak of the long-lasting spread of coronavirus has put our resilience to the test, and our daily lives are changing rapidly, and things that we used to take for granted are sometimes no longer available to us. And the pandemic has not only accelerated the reform in education, but also influenced job markets, transformed work environments, digitalized many aspects of our lives. And living through this confusing but dynamic world of 2020, I will share some cases of our own, how our youth programs transformed its way of reaching out to the youth. And I will start by briefly introducing our department first. Okay. So in Korea, the Youth Basic Law has been in effect since 1993, regulating youth policies and basic functions of youth development. And under this law, youth leaders are trained, facilities are created, and youth-led programs are developed and executed. And the age range of youth defined in this law is from 9 to 24 years old. And in 2020, the government enacted and enforced another youth basic law that covers the age from 19 to 34. And on August of 2019, after being selected and authorized by the city of Seongnam as the operating team, our foundation started operating the city's very first center for supporting youth from 19 to 34. The center is called 청년이 봄, literally translated as Youth is Spring. And while running the center, our foundation newly organized the Department of Youth Policy for the youth between 19 and 34 within our Strategy Management Division in the headquarters. And I am a member of that department. And our main objective is to support those in transition from youth to adulthood in areas such as political and social participation, career-related competency development, youth labor rights, and psychological and emotional support for the youth. And there is a very brief video clip of our center. This is our main center. Open for anybody who wants to use the space. And this is the shared kitchen. This is the seminar room where the youth can reserve for their meetings or activities. This is the office for the startups. Yes, so very short clip. So, okay, I'll continue. So the pandemic made a huge impact on the operation of Youth Center 청년이 봄, since the outbreak took place shortly after its grand opening. And even though there were many difficulties in the process, the Youth Center has made a successful transition by readjusting all programs to be provided virtually online. And one of the most popular programs this year was the Youth Mind Care program, which is under the Youth Culture section. Okay. So due to the unprecedented social distancing measures and the fear of contagion, the overall mental well-being of society has deteriorated. And especially for youth between 19 and 34, the factors such as decrease in job opportunities, change in educational environment, and limitation in social gathering turned the pandemic-induced stress and anxiety into depression. And according to a recent report presented by Seoul Youth Guarantee Center, more than 25% of Korean youth between 19 and 34 have thought of committing suicide or harming themselves at least once since the pandemic, which is the figure that is 10 times higher than the survey conducted 2 years ago. And the concept of taking care of one's mind and preventing the youth's corona blue turning into clinical depression became of utmost importance here in our society. And so the Youth Mind Care program was launched in May of this year. And it started with Youth Mind Care Supporter Training project composed of 13 sessions with youth participants and lead counselor. And through 3 months of training, 22 youth participants completed the project and continued with 4 additional sessions of vegan dining project, where the supporters and other local youths communicated and consoled one another while cooking the vegan meal kit that we've sent by mail to each and every home. And it was still non-face-to-face activity, but it effectively conveyed its own special and dynamic essence to feel the connection between the participants. So following was 4 sessions of creative team projects and a talk concert joined by the mayor of Seongnam City, who engaged in introducing the stories and messages from Seongnam youth and sharing thoughts. So in 2021, the supporters will have more opportunities to be actively involved in programs, as they will become the companions and supporters of anyone who writes their concerns on the 청년이범 Center website, open at all times. So next program I would like to share is what we call an innovative internship program called Seongnam City Pre-Internship. And Korea's youth unemployment rate fell from 14th place among OECD countries in 2009 to 28th place in 2019. And after the coronavirus, situation became worse than ever. And added to this, a more serious problem was the mismatch between the job-seeking graduates and the companies, the local companies, where the rate showed that about half of the newly employed quit their first job within a year. So while the causes of these unemployment-related problems in youth job market vary, we decided to focus on what we can do best as regional intermediary organization. So we designed a program to educate on-site field-oriented practices that youth can only experience and learn from actual internships. So our idea was to cooperate with local companies who can not only share with us the information about the criteria for their recruitment process and real tasks of their employees in the field, but also agree to provide real internship opportunities or grants for the participants who finished our program. And the most important condition was to form an incubant expert mentor group that could provide high quality education and training for the purpose. So this is the reason for the naming of this program being the pre-internship. And our original plan was to select 5 to 7 participants from Seongnam City to actually visit Silicon Valley in the United States and provide opportunity for software-related job enhancement training in conjunction with the engineers in the region. But however, due to the pandemic, it was impossible for us to arrange anything with going abroad. So what we did was we rearranged the entire program to take place online using multiple online tools such as Zoom, Slack, GitHub, Google, and so on. And by connecting with Silicon Valley Mentor Group real time, 5 groups, total of 20 participants, were able to produce either mobile application or website through the 8-week project. So we also created an online platform to archive all these processes and project results so that the educational part of educational contents and project information could be accumulated for use of future as well. And unfortunately, when we were about to finish this year's program, the situation with coronavirus was quite serious. So the company we worked with was unable to open up the real internship, but instead, as an alternative option, this year they gave out grants for every participant who finished our program for them as an incentive for their job seeking. So next year, we're planning to open more opportunities in the areas of data science, AI technology, and so on. So hopefully coronavirus problem would be gone by then. Okay, and these are the 5 finalized projects that we did. Okay, and lastly, there is a youth startup incubation program called Some Space. This program is run by Jungwon Youth Center of our foundation, and the objective of this program is to select pre-startup teams to provide opportunity for early startup to pave their way step by step. And such program and support is essential for youth who are continuously facing difficulties, especially in times such as the pandemic and economic recession. And this program is to find practical support measures and ways to promote exchanges through sharing of difficulties in conducting startups and performing professional evaluations. So this year, we selected 5 groups concentrating mainly on the early stage of ideation and product development, and 1 startup team ready to build customer base and establish the business. So a total of 6 teams. And with the 16 youth participants, we provided 3 main support systems, as you can see in the slide. First was the support of space for startup preparation and launching of business. So participants were able to use spaces and facilities such as cafe, editing studio, creative workshop space, carpentry, inside the Jungwon Youth Center. And secondly, well, the provision of material costs for teams to make their product prototypes and move into the commercialization stage. And third was supporting through consulting and mentoring sessions for these teams. So as a result, the 1 team that was already ready for establishment has been operating a cafe inside Jungwon Center since September 21st of this year, after the issuance of official business permit. I go there every single day, almost every single day. Very good. You should visit sometime. And the other 5 teams also successfully finished their projects. As you can see in the slide, the areas of their startup were IT database, YouTube channel, accessory designs, and carpentry. And these are the pictures. So, yeah, okay. Okay, so I would like to share much more information about our programs, since we've tried out dozens and dozens of online, offline, hybrid programs. But since my time is up, I'll stop here. And thank you for listening. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Bohui.
Thank you.
She actually her team and her division and the center, all the members have tried a tremendous effort and put a lot of energy and resources. So some of the activities made a big success. Some of them, some of that, but the real impact is to try it out, to experimentation. So later, you guys will ask a lot more to her and to her team. Okay, now let's move on. Mr. Konstantinos, Stergiou. Okay, are you ready?
Thank you, Misug. It's very nice to see you
Okay.
both, all of you here again. We are always commenting on our memories from last year with people that we visited yesterday. Was a day that the memories from Facebook were still coming, and also some reminders of a post in Korea. So yeah, we missed a lot the opportunity of being there, but still this online forum is an opportunity for us to stay connected, as you said, and also to keep updated on the different situations in our countries, in our expertise fields. And what you said, Bohu, at the moment is really interesting. Even we visited some of these places, it's still also there is a lot to explore. So we will have more questions later on in the discussion process. Good. So I might share my screen. I would like you to see a full screen. Good. So I will start now. The title of my presentation is Resilient Youth and Future Skills, and it's based on some specific facts that through research I came through. So undoubtedly, the COVID-19 pandemic and lockdown measures have led a worldwide disruption of education and closure of educational institutions, of course, threatening the continuity of skills development, of course, always including apprenticeships and internships. As UNESCO estimates, nearly 3 out of 4 of the world learners were affected by school closures. And the International Labour Organization indicates that more than 80% of the enterprises have stopped apprenticeship training, 36% have stopped payment of wages and stipends, and 52% are planning to reduce expenditure on staff training after the pandemic is over. And above this, 1 in 6 young people have stopped working since the onset of COVID-19. And if we take into consideration that young people aged between 15 and 24 were already facing a challenging transition into the labor market even before the crisis, we can see that these are very specific facts that really influence the life of young people. Of course, we also have to take into consideration that even before COVID-19, we were also functioning in a fourth industrial revolution era. We all know that we have 3 industrial revolutions that happened before, but today it's 3 years more or less. The fact that we are into this industry 4.0, and we are talking about an era characterized by the fusion of the digital, biological, and physical worlds, as well as the growing utilization of new technologies such as artificial intelligence, cloud computing, robotics, 3D printing, and general advanced wireless and smart technologies. And it's very clear that the COVID crisis has dramatically accelerated the transition to this Industry 4.0 era. And there is a thing related to this that around the world, many employers who are already struggling to fill job vacancies cast a wary eye toward the future, because the existing mismatch between youth skills and employers needs to become and will become even wider as Industry 4.0 will transform the business and job faster than workers can adapt. And it's a big fact. Also, the 2/3 of today's 5-year-old young students will be people who in 15 years will find themselves in jobs that do not exist today. So we see that this gap between skills and the labor market needs is growing faster and faster, even more rapidly after the COVID-19 situation. So what are the skills needed for this fourth industrial revolution, but for the future jobs? And if we can categorize them in 4 categories, it will be, of course, the workforce readiness, which is related to literacy, numeracy, digital literacy, self-presentation, time management, which are specific skills to support young people in finding and securing employment and succeeding within a workplace. And then, of course, soft skills are and will always be very important skills that are related to communication, critical thinking, creative thinking, collaboration, adaptability, teamwork, self-confidence, empathy. And these are very specific skills that, of course, youth work is already working on, and they support a lot the integration and collaboration within internal and external workplaces. So they are always, and they will always be important. The technical skills refer to computer programming, coding, project management, financial management, mechanisms that have scientific tasks, and they give the young people the technical and domain expertise in order to perform in their job specific tasks. Entrepreneurship, in the aspect of the entrepreneurial mindset, is related to skills that have to do with innovation, creativity, resilience, curiosity, optimism, risk-taking, the courage to try new things. And of course, they support young people in order to establish their own business, okay, to start with their own rules. And you explained before, we have several examples on this part. to develop as self-starters within a work environment. All these things accompanied by a lifelong learning approach, which is the continuous process of new knowledge and skills through professional and personal careers. It's a matrix of skills needed for the future and the next generations in order to guarantee that no kid is left behind and that the transition to autonomy to the labor market is helping young people to feel more resilient in the coming challenges. But if we ask the most easy question, the most simple question, whose job is it to prepare resilient youth? And of course, there's no clear answer, because we have to understand, and we know the people who are involved in the youth work-related issues, that it is a cross-sectorial matter that needs collaborative initiatives by all relevant stakeholders. But let's see, let's touch a bit who are these relevant stakeholders. If we start always from education-based models, because we know traditionally education systems are the ones who primarily prepare the young people for the workforce. And during the pandemic, it was very clear that many educational systems around the world were disconnected, and from the fact that we are living in a skill-based world of work, and the educational models that were developed in the 19th century did not prove ready for these new changes. And of course, we knew we need new education models, and the research and my also personal experience through my visit in Korea last year made me highlight master's schools in Korea, and I would like to discuss a bit more later on what they are really working on. But in general, they are focusing on supporting students in the effort to gain employment after graduation by providing a curriculum that reflects more on the industry's demands. And if we are working about, if we are talking about the Korean work and learning dual system, we see that this system combines hire youth and provide them with systematic on-site education training with educational institutes such as schools. So the base models on education are very important, but of course we have important job being done by non-profit models. So, and you know that non-profits can leverage the relationship with the local community to build trust and respond to local needs, while allowing for agile responsiveness to employer skills needs. So the two examples that we have, probably you know, the GA, the Junior Achievement Worldwide, and the British Council, they have very specific programs running inside schools and outside schools, so they are connected or not to education, and they prepare young people for employment and entrepreneurship, delivering hands-on experiential learning in work readiness, financial literacy, and of course entrepreneurship. Government sponsored models. In the European Union, we have the European Union Youth Guarantee, which is it's an opportunity for all member states to provide good quality employment, which is continuing education, apprenticeship, and traineeship within a period of 4 months of becoming unemployed or leaving educational sector. So there is no longer period than these 4 months that young people stay outside the educational or work-related sector. And the European qualification framework, it's a bridge between the national qualification systems, giving a reference level model that defines all the knowledge, skills, and autonomy responsibilities and the learning outcomes. So young people can easily move from a country to country and work there and have their qualifications recognized. Of course, the youth-led model and the youth work sector is the topic of today, and I'm sure that the next colleagues and speakers will cover most of it. But the youth work sector has proved that is working a lot on the resilience of young people, and they are working a lot on the models that are supporting young people in local, regional, national, and international levels. This is what the Youth at Work Partnership is doing, that Raluca will cover later on. This is also youth-led NGOs, smaller or bigger, are doing already in the future days. We will see that the importance of youth work activities will grow even stronger and stronger. And last but not least, we have the business community models that we have several big companies that are working on skills development. And a good example is the Interfuture skills that gives students a framework needed for a lifetime of problem solving and discovery through the well-known STEAM, the science, technology, engineering, arts, and math learning. So since my time is getting over, and I would like to summarize with some closing remarks, that the changing world of work, including technical changes and digitalization, is offering both challenges and opportunities. We said it in the first moment that we started this panel. So skills development has a key part to play in fostering the resilience of young people. And the skills development stakeholders also need to anticipate shifts on the demand for skills in the labor market that may occur as the economic crisis unfolds. So one thing that I would like to share is a very last word that the COVID-19, of course, was a challenging period for all the people, but demonstrated also how important the abilities to deal with unpredictable situations and thriving in an economy that can change overnight. So from one moment to another, we found ourselves in totally new situations. This is my part. I would like to close here and thank you for your attention. And of course, we will have more things to discuss later on.
Thank you very much, Konstantinos. Okay, it's very interesting, especially the resilience is really matters now, right? So let's talk about it later more. Okay, now next is Ondrej. Please, Ondrej, have your presentation. Okay.
Good. Thank you very much. I also wanted to say, just like Kostas, that I'm really glad for you having me in here. And just like all of us who were there last year in Korea, I think we're all having quite warm memories of the event. And it's really great to see that all of you are also safe and sound and that we can continue this exchange. So can you see the slide now?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay. So I will take it from here. So again, hello everyone. I'm really glad to see you all here. I will be talking a bit, I would say a bit more generally about what the COVID-19 related youth research in the youth field can tell us about the area of youth work. And we've got just about 10 minutes to discuss it. So I will try to stick to the schedule as much as I can. So let's get to it. In the next 10 minutes, I will tell you, I will be talking about the four main questions: who, where, what, and how. So firstly, I will tell you a bit about who I am, really briefly. And then we will dive into the COVID-19 related youth research, initially showcasing where to look for this type of research findings, then browsing through some of the important findings, and finally looking into opportunities that the COVID-19 related youth research brings in terms of future development of the youth work in Europe and beyond. I'm really glad that we have all kind of stressed this balance between the challenges and opportunities, and I will try to do the same in here to see what opportunities there are also in these difficult times. So just really briefly, as I mentioned already, my name is Ondrej Barta, and I'm a freelance youth researcher focusing on different areas in the youth field. And just to not take any more time than necessary, you can find more information on what I do and some of my reports also on ondrebarta.eu. So let's go into the contents. Well, when talking about the COVID-19 related youth research, one of the key questions, of course, is where to find it. And what I would like to suggest is at least in the European context, is to start with the knowledge hub established and run by the youth partnership between the Council of Europe and European Union. There is a screenshot of the knowledge hub home site, as you can see. And I would like to shortly guide you through, because I believe this is really a useful instrument in getting to know the findings of the COVID-19 related youth research. As you see, there are 4 main sections. The first one provides you with updates so that you can always see what's new and what has been recently added. But it also provides you with summaries and briefings, so you can it can help you to quickly see the gist of a wide variety of research reports without the necessity to really go through the detailed reports yourself. So just to have a quick idea as to what it's all about. Then, of course, if you feel like going into details, there are 9 topical categories and also about 30 external websites you can browse on your own. So it's the International Labour Organization, UNICEF, Eurofund, and many others. And all of those organizations also provide relevant COVID-19 youth research. And what is really interesting is also the opportunity to provide your own research findings and to actually share the evidence that you have at hand, because there is a permanent survey which enables you to submit COVID-19 related youth research reports. And I believe this is a great opportunity to share research findings and support international youth field community in that way. So feel free to have a look and submit if you have some new research to share. And once you have a look in there, then you will see that there is a wide variety of COVID-19 related youth research, and it spans very many domains. And since we are here today to talk about youth work, I will stick to one key finding, which for me is really striking when I look at the COVID-19 related youth research. And that is the structural vulnerabilities of youth work as such. If you look into different reports, I have linked them at the bottom of this slide, so you can have a look yourselves. There are actually 2 main components of these structural flaws in youth work in Europe. The first one is uncertain funding, and the second one is precariousness of the youth worker profession itself. When it comes to uncertain funding, we see that much of youth work is actually project-based. And in these times, projects get postponed and prolonged, some even cancelled, but funding does not take this into account, and that leaves youth work organizations in sort of a limbo. This limbo is connected namely to limited resources for operational and administrative costs of youth work, which are often either low or non-existent outside of the project-related funding. You can see a quote from survey respondents of RAY research into COVID-19 impacts of youth sector. And it literally says that, and I quote, "Our budget has been cut in half. New funding is entirely uncertain. The financial impact is hitting us very hard at the moment." And I think this illustrates very, very nicely what I have just talked about. What I have just described is also linked to precariousness of employment and self-employment of youth work professionals. And again, you can see a direct quote from a RAY survey respondent who says that they, and again I quote, they had to cut wages and reduce staff to be able to cope. So you see that even the youth work professionals themselves in these times face very many uncertainties. What is also important, and it comes, let's say, in a striking, I would say, contrast with what I have just described, and that's this uncertainty which has been generated in the youth field and in the youth work in Europe, is still the critical role of youth work in keeping young people or helping young people, supporting young people in coping with the changes that the pandemic has brought. You have mentioned it yourselves with the Mind Care program and with all the different projects that you have actually immediately transformed online and continue to support young people in your Korean context. And the same happened in Europe, where quite many, I would say even all of the youth work providers have done their best to go online immediately, to stay in touch with the young people, to support them through these difficult times. As you can see, I have again taken the liberty of quoting some of the Ray research respondents. And one of them is actually from a young person, and that's the one in the blue. And one of the young people who responded to the survey says, there has been so much heart, warmth, and passion emanating from the leaders of youth work. The presence of strong, positive, and supportive youth work has been critical for me to make anything work during the crisis. And I think this is fully in line with the results of the research that you have presented earlier, with the actually, let's say, the mind-related or mental issues which actually occur in young people in these stressful times. So despite the above-mentioned uncertainties, youth work continues to support young people around Europe. And also, it continues to try to develop itself. And how does the youth work do it? Well, there is the European Youth Work Agenda. European Youth Work Agenda is a key strategic political document which outlines the systematic approach of the European Union and its member states towards youth work. And it recognizes it as one of the key components supporting young people in their development. Interestingly, some of the objectives of the European Youth Work Agenda focus on provision and quality of youth work, and also on ensuring a strong role for youth work in the new normal. What also happened in 2020, at the end of 2020, was the European Youth Work Convention. And this took place in December 2020 online, as everything happened in the online environment, gathering more than 1,000 participants from all around Europe. And the objectives were to discuss the current challenges and needs of youth work, but also, and very importantly, to start what is now called a bond process. And that is basically a process which aims at putting the European Youth Work Agenda that I have introduced earlier into practice. And it aims at developing concrete strategies, planning actions, setting priorities for implementation, and so on. So what basically happened that there were over 1,000 people related to youth work in Europe, and everybody discussed how we can actually take the youth work agenda and put it in practice. And now we get to what I was trying to suggest with this whole presentation. So based on all I have presented so far, I think it is fairly obvious that youth work needs identified by the COVID-19 related youth work research actually support the objectives of the European Youth Work Agenda and the bond process. I think what happened was that the COVID-19 related research actually puts all the needs of the youth work field on the light. But as it's always the case, so now we have, let's say, a strong evidence-based case. Mm-hmm. But what I think we need is also to build evidence-based implementation strategy. And since most of the, from what I've also seen during the European Youth Work Convention, most of the currently proposed implementation structures actually have already been in place for literally decades, just like Erasmus Plus and volunteering mobility schemes and other, and it's all of those project-related or project-focused programs. So what I think we really need is new structures which would be more in line with the findings from the COVID-19 related youth research, and that would actually help to continuously complement project-based funding with instruments which also focus on day-to-day operation. And again, I have to relate this to one of the beautiful slides of my Korean colleagues. It's these spaces that you have available all the time, not only because of one project, but all the time. And it's also these online spaces which you can afford to keep for young people, and not only just for a duration of a project, but also long-term so that they can use it. And what I also think is necessary is a mechanism which would systematically support development of youth work profession and youth work career. In terms of youth work profession, when we talk about also education of youth workers, when we talk about, but also in terms of career. So when we talk about how to distinguish, let's say the youth worker who is new in the field and the youth worker who's been there for 20 years and has got huge experience to share. So this should also be taken into account. So basically what I tried to suggest with this presentation was that the COVID-19 related youth research is actually presenting us with an opportunity to highlight these needs and these challenges and to address them in the months and years to come to help us to make youth work even better in supporting young people, not only in Europe, but worldwide. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay. Okay, Ondrej, as I told you in Korean, the crisis means risk as well as opportunity. Ondrej, you precisely you presented that point, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And now let's Raluca. Let's move on Raluca's presentation. Please come.
Thank you so much, Misug, and hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be here today at my last online meeting of the year, if you can believe it. I'm very, very excited, and I have to say that I've missed Korea so much. And hopefully, like you said, Misug, next year we will be able to meet face to face.
Yes.
I am welcoming you to Romania, where I am for the Christmas holidays. I'm actually in my grandma's house.
Oh yeah.
And I would have never thought that I would have one day I will welcome so many people to my grandma's house, and she's honored to have you here. Like I was introduced earlier by Bohui, I am Raluca Diroescu, and I am the coordinator of the Youth at Work Partnership. That is an institutional transnational alliance of several governmental institutions, actually 17, that implement the Erasmus Plus EU program for education, training, youth and sport in the European Union and in the partner neighboring regions. My presentation today, and I will share the screen in a second. Yes, I hope you can see it. Yes, perfect. So my presentation today will focus on the power of social innovation and youth work amid the COVID-19 pandemic. We have been talking a lot about the challenges that have emerged with the COVID-19 pandemic. We also started talking about some solutions that we can bring, and it was really a real pleasure to listen to the presentation of Bohui that highlighted some of the measures that were put in place in Korea, and that's really wonderful to see, because there are also a lot of initiatives, similar initiatives in the European Union, but the exchanges of practices is always a very good source of inspiration. My presentation will start by very briefly addressing the impact of COVID-19 on young people. We've all talked about so far about how youth work has been impacted, how the labor market is impacted, but when it comes to the concrete impact that the crisis has had on young people, there are four main areas that we can talk about. First of all, mental health. I've been reading an article yesterday that was emphasizing that the impact on the mental health of the population hasn't been this big since the Second World War. So this is really an impactful thing to read, and it is actually true. Like Bohui was presenting at the very beginning, young people have suicidal tendencies. They don't have the opportunity to interact anymore with their peers. They are stuck in the house. And that has a tremendous impact on the mental state of young people. Then another important sector that has been severely impacted by the crisis is education. Everything has been transferred online. Schools have been closed throughout the territory of the European Union and neighboring partner regions, as well as in Korea. everything is happening from home. And that has that comes with a lot of problems. Then the economic impact that Konstantinos was talking about in his presentation. A lot of jobs have been lost. Precarious work situations have been noticed among young people, and that is very worrying. And we actually don't know how long this is going to last. What is the long-lasting effect on the economic lives of young people? Then last but not least, there is the personal and social impact that the crisis has had on young people. Different habits, different lifestyles that young people weren't used to having, social distancing. This comes with a lot of consequences. And actually I was talking in the past month with a friend that works on research when it comes to young people's lifestyles. And he was talking about the negative image that came with the crisis when it comes to young people, because they have been depicted by media as a category of the population that doesn't comply with the rules. They skip some of the rules. They are not really following all the steps like the older categories of the population. So that comes with a negative depiction, which is something that is not new in the European Union. We have been fighting this negative image of young people and trying to put them in a positive light. How youth work has been challenged by the pandemic. Ondrej has already started talking about that, and he has done it very well. So I'm just going to sum up some of the findings of a survey that was conducted by the Joint Council of Youth of the Council of Europe. And this survey emphasizes that the impact that the crisis has had on youth work affected the projects. Like Ondrej was saying, youth work is project-based, very much project-based. So a lot of projects have been cancelled. All of them have been have suffered some delays. Here we are talking about volunteering mobility programs. When it comes to the mobility programs, especially the international ones, all of them have been cancelled or transferred online. And this is a big blow to a lot of youth workers that were actually depending on those mobility programs, on the funding that came with the mobility programs, but also the social interactions that came with the mobility programs. Then, like Ondrej again was emphasizing, there is a lack of funding. A lot of funding has been cancelled, cuts in funding have been noticed, so that's really a tremendous challenge for youth workers. Then there are difficulties to keep organizations and young people motivated through distance. It's one thing when we meet face to face, but a completely different thing when we are interacting from our homes. Then there has been a decrease in outreach and visibility. Youth centers were closed, all of them were closed. They have been recently, in some countries, they have been open over summer, but then closed again during autumn and winter, because maybe you've heard, but in a lot of European countries, we are facing now the second or even the third lockdown. The mental health of youth workers has been also affected, not only the mental health of young people. Youth workers have been dealing with stress and anxiety, and then when and where possible, activities were moved online. And I'm saying this for the following reason. My question was here, are we digi-competent enough? Are we digitally competent enough in order to move to this online presence? First of all, throughout the whole territory of the European Union, we notice a lack of digital technology and infrastructure. There are big gaps between the European countries. Some countries are very developed, there is digital infrastructure in place, but other countries are struggling with this. And even on the territory of the same country, there are big differences between regions. So yes, it's very nice to be meeting online, but does everybody have access to digital technology? Do they have a Wi-Fi connection? Do they have computers? This is a big problem. Then a lack of digital competencies among youth workers and young people. We talk about young people as digitally competent, but are they really? And also, are youth workers digitally competent? When we look at the DigiComp competence framework for digital competencies that was developed by the European Commission, we see here that there are 5 dimensions to being digitally competent. First of all, we are talking about information and data literacy, then about communication and collaboration, digital content creation, safety, and last but not least, problem solving. Some of these areas are covered. Some people are very strong when it comes to communication and collaboration, but they don't have any clue about safety and how they can protect themselves. We've heard about, and I think this is not only a problem in the European Union, also in Korea, bullying, a lack of data privacy, and so on and so forth. Then, when it comes to being digitally competent, there is a big problem when it comes to young people with fewer opportunities. They have been unfortunately lost due to these online activities, because, as I said before, they don't have the infrastructures, they don't have computers, and they are not competent enough in order to use these technologies in order to fully benefit from these online programs. Then, last but not least, we are talking about a lack of motivation, engagement, and low attendance rate. This is something that has been noticed throughout the European Union, and when it comes to the Youth at Work partnerships activities that were also transferred online or postponed until 2021, we noticed a low attendance rate when we select our participants, young people and youth workers, and especially among groups that have never met before. Because it's one thing if people know each other, they're happy to meet again, even if it's online. But for people that haven't met, and this is the first opportunity to meet in an online environment, we notice that they escape. They are not there when we are expecting them to be. I'm going to use the same metaphor that Ondrej used earlier. Let's look at the light at the end of the tunnel. I very much liked what Misug said at the very beginning, what crisis means in Korean. This combination between risk and opportunity. I am a person that is not afraid of challenges. I actually like to deal with challenges because they have the potential to spark learning and human innovation. This crisis has brought a lot of problems. The lack of control. We don't control our lives anymore. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We cannot make any plans. The risk, but also dealing with uncertainty, like I was saying earlier. And what does dealing with uncertainty bring? It brings humility. Humility that pushes us to learn even more. So this challenging situation creates this very good environment to learn, to adapt, to reflect, and find resources to solve problems. When it comes to innovation, I've listed here some of the characteristics of youth work and some of the characteristics of social innovation. And we can see that youth work is a fertile ground for innovation. Youth work is engaging, is participatory, inclusive, diverse, community-focused, empathetic, flexible, creative, supportive, collaborative, entrepreneurial, humble, and empowering. And then when we look at the characteristics of social innovation, we see some similarities, and we can see how social innovation can support youth work practice. Social innovation is challenge focused. So this COVID-19 crisis is a very good occasion to start developing social innovation solutions. Social innovation is novel, creative, it builds capacity and skills, it's empowering, it's community-oriented, entrepreneurial, and so on and so forth. When it comes to defining social innovation, because I like definitions very much, and it's not always very clear what we mean by that, and maybe it has different meanings. When we talk about social innovation in the European Union, we are looking at the development and implementation of new ideas to meet social needs and create new social relationships and collaborations. It improves human well-being, and the innovations are not only good for society, but also enhance individuals' capacity to act. Social innovation is not the privilege of any organization, and the solutions that come with social innovation often require cross-sector collaboration. So again, youth work is really one of those sectors that can benefit a lot from social innovation. Now, in order to give you some concrete examples, and I'm going to go very briefly through them because I want to really stick to my time, I'm going to give you 3 examples from Cyprus, 3 beautiful examples of organizations that managed to incorporate social innovation and deal with the COVID-19 crisis. These organizations were not created, and their programs were not created during the crisis. They were created before. Some of them have been running for years, but thanks to their social innovation infused activities, they were able to cope very well with the crisis. These examples were showcased at the Towards Collaborative Practice Forum on Social Innovation for Social Inclusion that was organized by the Youth at Work Partnership in September, supported by the Youth Board of Cyprus, hence their being from Cyprus. First of all, there is Systema Cyprus, that is a music education social program that is transforming the lives of young people in Cyprus. It has been created in 2018. It's part of Systema Europe. This is a program that emerged in 1975 in Venezuela, and it uses the power of music in order to include young people in society, and especially young people with fewer opportunities. During the crisis, they were able to operate online. They organized a symphony orchestra. They had a digital concert. They managed to keep young people engaged. And at the end, during the summer, when they were able to meet again, they noticed that because of those digital involvement of young people during the crisis, young people suddenly became very responsible. So that was a very positive surprise to the organizers to see how responsible young people became over the crisis, thanks to the engagement provided by Systema Cyprus. Then another example that I would like to present is SCYF, that is a therapeutic community, a center, rehabilitation community for substance abuse. And it's a center that has been running for many years. It helps addicts, substance addicts to get included in society. But on top of the therapeutic programs that it runs, it also developed a social enterprise that focuses on organic agriculture. So they have some agricultural programs that supports the development of and reintegration of these people, young people that benefit from the programs. During the crisis, their activity was actually boosted because people had to stay home. They had to cook at home. So they stopped going to restaurants and they started ordering more from SCYF. So that was a very nice thing to do. And then last but not least, Home for Cooperation. That is a community center located in the UN buffer zone in Nicosia that was created in 2018. And it's a peace building project because, you know, in Cyprus, there is the problem with the Northern Cypriots, the Turkish Cypriots, and the Greek Cypriots. This is a program that brings NGOs together in the buffer zone, NGOs, Greek Cypriot and Turkish Cypriot, and they are able to work together. They also have a cafe. They also have talking about spaces for young people to meet. That was closed during the crisis, but they were able to meet online, and their activities continue successfully. If you want to find out more about them, we actually have a very nice video that was produced for the TCP forum that we actually had, we were supposed to go to Cyprus, but instead of going to Cyprus, we had a virtual study visit. So if you want to see this virtual study visit, if you want to see these centers and the wonderful work that they do, I recommend you to visit our Youth at Work YouTube channel. So more later when we will be able to discuss, but let's stay safe and let's keep in touch. And if you want to follow what Youth at Work is doing here, you have all the social media channels and our website. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Raluca. So you take the bright side of the crisis, okay? And I was so impressed by digit competent, right? So let's talk about later more. And finally, but the Miss Alena Ignatovitch, is it right? Alena?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Okay, let's
Thank
start.
you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, it's both exciting and challenging
Uh-huh.
to take the floor after all these distinguished colleagues that we have here, but still I'm trying to do my best. And I don't have any memories to share from the last year from Korea, but I'd like to say thank you for inviting me, and I'm pleased and honored to share the panel today. So, all right, let me adjust my presentation for you to see it, and I believe we will be able to start in several seconds. Right. Well, lots of words have been said today about all the challenges and opportunities that the COVID pandemic brought to us. And yeah, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, youth work has changed dramatically with all these distinctive rise of online activities and all these activities that are undertaken online and with the help of digital platforms. And lots of words have been said that we should treat this new experience both as a challenge and as an opportunity. And that's definitely so. This COVID created new barriers, new limits to youth work and youth work practitioners, teachers, parents, but also opened up new opportunities. So in my today's presentation, I will go a bit deep into seeing how the COVID pandemic has triggered new roles of youth leaders, of youth workers, and teachers as well. Yeah, so to assist the challenges, like social inclusion, youth participation, and mental health and well-being, which were mentioned several times, but all the previous speakers, I would say that professionals who are working with youth are really now struggling to find new distinct place for youth work and non-formal education in online space. And they're really struggling in their professional life, trying to feel the way like within their methodological, organizational, technological way of organizing these fields. And still new, like all these challenging fields, they used to be challenging even before the pandemic, but within the COVID pandemic, if we take, for instance, social inclusion, we should say that the access to education, social services, digital tools, or decision makers by already marginalized young people have become even more limited. So there should be new ways, new paths, and new ideas how to reach them again. The field of youth participation, on the one thing, created limits, let's say like access to electronic devices or to electronic resources, but at the same time, it opened up new virtual advocacy environments, which were sort of an innovation within this period of time. If several speakers have mentioned already the details about how COVID impacted mental health and well-being, not only of young people, but also youth workers, practitioners, professionals and parents who were stuck in the same, let's say, face-to-face to all the challenges, and were supposed to find new ways, new paths, new tools, how to overcome all these issues and due all these anxieties and depression symptoms that were taking place, and they all created sort of a, let's say, necessary ways how to find the places or the spaces, how to put new reality, new normal into more constructive way. As I have said, like lots of ideas have been said about young people and the way that they faced all the challenges, but the outbreak also has impacted youth leaders and teachers a lot. And as I have said, also mentioned, like reaching young people out has become a very issue, the issue which is still on the table, I would say, because a reluctance of young people to engage digitally or when young people simply do not have adequate digital access. According to the OECD data, let's say, for example, 95% in the countries like Switzerland, Norway, and Austria have access to digital devices, but in other parts of the world, like Indonesia, only 34% of young population have this access. And the ways to find the ways, the professional possibilities to reach these young people with educational and youth work activities and services is also an issue. There are also lots of youth work practitioners who lack digital skills or attitudes, which was really mentioned just before, mentioned by Raluca, and I agree with it completely, because to whether we're so much competent enough to use and to enjoy all this, to benefit fully from all the opportunities that are created by digital technologies for delivering quality youth work, which is important to mention. Professional support to youth workers and youth leaders, like providing them with necessary tools, methodological, organizational, technological, and psychological as well. One more point to be mentioned also is that the imposed lockdowns have greatly reduced one of the central components of youth workers' professional cooperation on education and training, and that is learning mobility. That is mobility of youth workers and youth leaders for their full cooperation with their peers and for understanding social involvement with other countries. It has been impacted severely, and some of the other impacted measures, which you can see on this slide, I don't want to repeat, both touching youth organizations, which either were closed totally or postponed their projects or have some faced financial and different other difficulties. Still is an open issue whether there will be so much powerful enough and resourceful enough to rejoin, react, and restart after pandemic, like within all these new realities. And the last but not least is that educational and youth work services provided online, they are to respect safety and privacy of young people, and to this problem of safeguarding concerns are particularly issue in relation with the younger generation or with younger users. And to know all these rules to get this competence of knowing and transforming and sharing the ideas with young people is also a field which has to be taken into consideration while speaking about new rules and new phenomena within youth work within this COVID pandemic time. Whenever we start thinking about youth work, and we were a bit energetic, we had a research and we had a survey, national survey in the country, asking whether youth organizations managed to switch online and to provide some services. And we were quite happy to get the information that most of the organization were flexible, like 77% were flexible enough to provide some online activities. But when we started analyzing and finding some new features which learning online and providing services online have, you can have it on this slide, like new forms of information achievement and assessment. And we asked in the survey about our colleagues, they sometimes substituted just going in line with taking into consideration of all the features that online youth work, online education has. For instance, new forms of information achievement and assessment, changing the roles within this thing is that information is not a problem anymore, or knowledge is not a problem anymore, and a youth worker or an educator is not the unique knowledge provider anymore. He is like a leader, he is like the person who can help to manage this information, how can answer the questions like how to find it, how to analyze, evaluate, apply it, secure, let's say, and be critical about the information you can find. So these are the new skills and new nuances in the youth work that should be taken into consideration, because not to substitute just to provision information, provision knowledge with the real skills that are really needed by the young people. And today in this our information world, knowledge society-based world, where the information shifts and grows, there are like 1.8 million scientific papers annually published in more than 28,000 journals. So it's just enormously huge number of knowledge and information spreading around, which no one can digest. And at the same time, this feature of learning, of being online, it presupposes lots of self-independence, self-directness, choice, and that opens up new challenge, let's say, in the youth work trend, like how to help and assist and not to violate this independence, but be very much near and close, not to impose, not to interfere. Otherwise, let's say there's one other problem when you know, detached youth work, when it was found that when trying to find young people and be very intrusive with our services online. And online environment is just absolutely, its ideology is to be very free, autonomous, anywhere, anytime, any size. And youth work right now, I think, faces, you know, this quite challenging sphere or field of its renovation, rethinking, and readjusting to new realities forms. In a way, the modes of online youth work, which were very popular, I would say the functions or the directions which were very popular during this COVID pandemic times, it's like mostly providing information and counseling, and that is the key issues about, again, about informing about sanitary measures, physical restrictions, providing some issues, information patterns, and how to proceed and how to survive in this challenging times, offering psychological and mental support, creating interaction and facilitating collaboration. You know, grabbing all these together, like finding the features of online work and the modes of online work which practitioners basically do. I had a deeper look into these new tasks and roles, basically new roles that youth leaders, youth workers, and teachers have, and let's say new tasks and new duties in their works that I tried to, you know, put on this slide. You can find it. The basic note to remark in all that is that the fundamental premise of teachers or youth workers as conduit of knowledge, as I have said, is no longer valid. So moving from sage on the stage to guide on the side is now emerging, and it's very much true to illustrate the awareness of the changes that are happening and focusing on the role of the teacher, of the role of the youth leader, who are mostly like facilitators, guiders, mentors, coaches, assessors of the process, of the learning process. And even sometimes, and most of the time, they are the people who need some digital support from the young people who are with them around. I'm not going to go deep into the new tasks and duties. You can see them on the slide and we can discuss them further on. But I would say that new tasks, just to summarize them, new tasks that are mostly within this risk management and turning the youth work mostly, or turning learning online and turning youth work services online to be straightforward, future-oriented, risk-oriented, and assessive and assertive. The positive question is, you know, while some people are trying to believe that all these unplanned and rapid move to online activities with no sufficient training, insufficient sometimes bandwidth, and little preparation will result in a poor user experience, others see and believe that a new hybrid model will appear within this youth work youth work trend of 2021 with significant benefits. And I would say that really COVID-19 brought challenges, but it brought innovations. And the move to online could be treated as this catalyst to new, more effective ways to working online. And I remember when I read a research about the youth work, where young people says that sometimes it's slow, sometimes it's not adjustable. I believe that was a push by the COVID-19 for all of us, just for practitioners and the researchers and the people who are involved in youth policies, just to feel that sometimes we need an extra push to treat it as a catalyst to be a bit more innovative and effective, matching the needs of young people we're working with. Shortly, that is it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alena. Thank you very much for your nice presentation. Actually, it's really important, right? The issues about the youth leaders and teachers. Actually, from my experience with my steps in the city, our institutions, I realized that the youth leaders are more, more confused and scared about this changing environment. Okay, they are not well adjusted to online things, right? Compared to the youth. So we have to deal with that their challenge too. It's a very serious problem. Serious challenge is that the youth field, youth work people should think about that, So we have touched it. All of you guys touches many issues, very important issues. So just let's start with the simple questions that you may have to each other's presentation. Okay, is there any questions or comments? Here, let me introduce Kyungju Lee. She is the director and she is boss of Bohui Kim. Kyungju, say hello. Kyungju, say hello.
Yep. Hi, I'm Kyungju Lee. I work in Youth Policy Department of the Seongnam Youth Foundation. Yeah. Yeah.
She's supervisor of Bohui, so she's the general manager of Youth Policy Department. Okay, so yeah. All she has support, and she and her crew has supported all this the forum. Okay, say thank you for your effort. Okay, let's begin your questions. Is there anybody who have who ask some questions to each other's presentation?
I can actually start if I may.
Okay, sure.
Because I was talking in my presentation about the need for systematically support youth work. And actually from what I heard in Bohui's presentation, you actually do have quite a nice system of continuously supporting youth work and young people. Could you maybe tell us more about how it works? I mean, how is your foundation linked to the municipality and to the national policy? How is or interlinked?
Actually, we are the organization actually fully supported by the Seongnam city. Okay, so we are public organization, so actually basically we don't worry about the money. Okay, and also there are many non-profit organization and private organization all together are located in Seongnam city. So and there are many private companies around Seongnam city. We are very lucky, especially many companies are IT companies. So during this COVID-19, those companies earn more money than before, right? Especially games company. So they can support some part for us, for the youth. Okay, and also there are nonprofit organization, NGOs for youth activities, and also we are just we are public, but non-government agency. Just we are public but non-government. We are not public officials. Okay, so we are just kind of intermediary agency to link the city government and all the providers, players. Okay, so financially we are very safe, and also we have many other structures to get together. So and we are not that big city, so we have only not 1 million population and 160,000 youth. So we are not that big, so it's quite manageable. So that's one structural support system that we have. Okay. So we are, as I said, we are quite lucky.
Thank you very much for that. I mean, I was a bit laughing when you said that you are not such a large city, because, for instance, in the European context, you are actually quite a large city.
Yes,
so, so you know, seeing that you do manage to actually create this bridge between the private NGO and other sectors and the public sector, this is really wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. And is there any other questions?
Yes,
Okay.
from me.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Misug. Actually, my question is also addressed to you, to Bohui, and to you. What about young people with fewer opportunities? I would like to hear more about the categories that you are dealing with. So what do you call as young people with fewer opportunities? And how have you managed to deal with them? How have you managed to reach out to them and keep them engaged in your programs?
Actually, see the Bohui, the center that Bohui introduced is at quite older youth, like over 19 years old. The other youth centers, the main other youth centers are just mainly deal with the under 19s. Okay, so they are two different groups, and the youth basically. We couldn't meet the youth in our locations, so we have to reach out that online. See, as you know, that Korea is we do have very well developed infrastructure for IT. So basically we are reach out that online, but still we have very difficulty to reach out. We lost a lot of youth, you know, so they don't participate. They didn't participate. Maybe 1/10 of youth participate in our activities. Just 1/10, maybe altogether 10% only participate in our activities. So we still have a difficulty, but since we provided all online materials on YouTube, so they could reach out through YouTube to our activities. So the youth could participate through YouTube many times, and over the times, more participants, more youth come to our YouTube channel. So that's our way to increase the participation of the youth. Okay, and also the basic our question challenge is that mostly our activities, the youth activities, is learning by doing. You know, experiential learning. But since our, the center shut down and we can't meet each other on the face, So it's really big issues. Is there learning occurring? Actually, is there learning between the youth readers and youth? And also, are we learning through online? Is it real learning? Those questions are very challenging for us. But we believe that that question might more be more serious to the older youth leaders, less than the youth themselves. That's I believe that. So okay, we still struggling. Okay, Alena.
Could I also- Yeah, thank you very much. My question is also to Bohui and to you, Misug. So I'm very much interested in knowing, how do you train your youth leaders? How did you prepare them for working online? So which support did you provide for them? Like, how did they manage in this, about this professionally, from professional perspective? Was it also training system or maybe any other ways?
See, in our institution, there are 250 steps. They are working together. We are working together, and from 20s to 50s, many wide spectrum of age. So the COVID pandemic influenced differently to different age group. Younger youth groups, they can manage it more easily, but the older people like me, they feel more difficulties, and that it is very they take more time to adjust to online activities, so they feel very difficulty and anxious and worried about themselves. Okay, so nowadays, now we are working team as a team. So the team leaders has changed. Before, the older staffs are leading the team, but now the younger leaders, younger staffs are leading the team. This is, status changing. It's a big challenge to us, to human resource development perspective. So we tried to provide that online YouTube editing, YouTube creator training courses to the staffs in our institutions. So, but still, we are struggling too. The more older people they have more difficulty. So I think it's the same to you. But we try to put more resources on human resources development for our staffs. Okay.
And I would like to add a little bit from my experience. So as a younger generation of staff, one of member, I really think the transition from offline to online really made me think about what professionality that we should really focus on as youth workers, because as I introduced before, I am in the department that focuses on the age group of from 19 to 34. So they are all well, so-called grown-ups, and they have their own special professional areas of expertise and knowledge. So we can't really follow every single steps of what they are learning and being educated and being supported. So I think the intermediary role is really important, connecting them with the companies, the resources, the organizations that are supporting the youth. So focusing on that as a youth worker, the pre-internship program that I introduced before is the one that I manage, and we're just really how do I say that, take the courage to really explore new fields. For me, I had no knowledge, no background knowledge of software engineering, programming, and I didn't even know that something like GitHub exists in this world, you know. But really meeting with the professionals and really getting to know what really the youth of our region are interested in that professional area, then connecting them and really getting to know the field was the big part for me. So I hope, yeah, we don't lose that focus. We don't drift into some other areas of, you know, focusing on the technicalities of digital environment, but really focus on what our role is as youth workers. So I hope that is an answer for you, Alena. Yes.
Actually, she
Yeah,
belongs
thank
to
you.
she belongs to younger, generation, younger group. So don't worry about her, So just kidding. Okay. So Konstantinos, you have
Yes, yes.
questions? Yeah.
While preparing and modifying my presentation during the last days, I went through this Generation X, the millennials and the Generation Z, and there was a question like, since the politicians, the leaders of the system are belonging mainly to Generation X, which is the 60s, 70s, okay? And how are they going to understand the millennials who grew up in an internet and this revolution number 3, and how are they going to build the future of Generation Z, which is in the industry, the revolution 4.0. So the topic here is also connected to who we are, who is being involved in the decision-making process, how and if the young people are involved in the decision-making process in order to make a future that they are included in the process of building their own future. So it's always a matter of discussion. And I like that what you said, Misug, before, like there is a need also for new leaders to come further and the young people to take more and more responsibilities in the whole process. So this is one very interesting part that you covered through the presentations, but it's also something that brings more questions.
Yes.
Who is
Yes.
leading yet?
Yeah.
Okay, I have, more or less the team that you invited today, we have been working together in different sectors.
Yeah.
So I have another question that is also related to what you are doing also there. So I don't know if it was the forum about that you ask us questions, but we have more questions to you, it seems.
Yes.
Because the work that you are doing there is amazing. It's very important for the young people, and we came back more rich and more ideas that came to our mind. And since we are talking about, I covered some parts about entrepreneurial skills, and Raluca also said about resilience, innovative, smart approaches, innovations, but also Alena and Ondrej covered this part in their presentations. I would like to ask a bit about this youth startup incubation program, because I understand clearly in the presentation the provision of a youth space, the costs, and the mentoring and consulting. But I would like to ask what is happening before this. So is there kind of entrepreneurial learning process? Is it something like idea generation? Is it something like mapping the needs in the local community of Seongnam city? How do you come up with ideas in order young people understand that the needs are out there? So how do you help them elaborate ideas that can turn to business or social business in the future?
In this case, they are not just a beginner, just quite preparing for their items. They brought with their items. So but they didn't have the resources. So we support resources and the places, and sometimes we link that mentors, consultations, so on. They are not just beginners, like young adolescent. They're quite we say grown up, yeah. So it's quite different. Just in terms of preparation, they are just half prepared people, prepared youth. So that's not what you are thinking about, Ondrej. You are thinking about the cases. So these cases are quite prepared. So okay. Okay. And we have 5 minutes left. Okay. Is there other questions? Oh, Bohui.
I actually have 2 questions, but I'll make them quick. So I just wanted to know if you guys have any idea of promoting the youth work programs, because from my experience, I thought online promotion for online events would be much easier to reach out to the youth who are just holding the mobile phone every single day, like 24/7. But then what we found out is that the information is still very limited, and the ones who already knows that we exist, the center exists, the programs exist, they get to be exposed of the informations, but then it's very difficult to reach out to the ones that we do not have in contact with. So if you have any ideas about that part. And another is any ideas how our international exchange programs can develop in the new normal world, because like talking through like online Zoom program is actually the best that I can come up with these days. So maybe any thoughts on that, any opinions would be great.
Okay. Is there promotion and collaboration? Okay.
Yeah, maybe I can say something regarding the first question. I actually, what the Youth at Work partnership is doing is at the international level. Promotion at the international level is very much different from the one at the local level. So I think that maybe Konstantinos could have more to say on this point. We rely a lot on social media, as you may imagine. And as you say, it's more challenging to engage people, newcomers, people that have never heard, they have never participated. We normally rely on social media and also on the already established network to attract new people. We actually encourage them to promote our activities and tell them to be on board. Then regarding the second question, to be quick, we are thinking about it, because this is what we are doing. We are organizing international events, engaging the youth work community and other actors of the youth employability and entrepreneurship ecosystem. So far we've also been on Zoom. We've transformed our activities to Zoom activities, but as of next year, we hope to go back to face-to-face events. And let's say that in the worst case scenarios, if it's still not possible for many months to come to meet face-to-face, we will go to blended learning. This is a solution that the European Union is turning towards, to meet online and then to meet face-to-face, or meet face-to-face and then online, because we've noticed that it works quite well. But I would also like to hear from Konstantinos and Alena and Ondrej. Maybe they have other ideas.
Okay, thank you, Raluca.
Thank you, Raluca. Misug, I can share something from a local level. Of course, as Ondrej noticed before, we are saying smaller communities. We are talking about communities of 1,000 people, of 10,000, 20,000 people, okay? You know, where this youth work in rural areas is very important also, because the people with fewer opportunities are mainly existing in these areas. They have lack of access to information, lack of access to these opportunities. So we are working a lot with them. One good thing is that we always involve young people in the decision-making process, and that is why we have a youth board, a youth leader board, and they have the authority and the responsibility at the same time in order to make their voices here louder. And we have noticed that the ones who are taking this leadership sense are the ones who are working as a good multipliers. So they take in as good examples from other people in the local community, and they see and they observe the change in the lifetime of the participation in youth work activities, how it has transformed them in more open-minded people, and the opportunities are out there. And since we are talking international mobilities, for people who have never traveled abroad, always going in another country, European or not, outside Europe, in other continents, is, you know, like the best appetizer that they can get, because they also see that the young people are turning so differently when they work abroad or they have volunteering service abroad. Even a youth mobility project for 10 days is extremely unique experience. And it's something that I noticed also when I had some time to, you know, chit chat with some Korea kids in the forum the last year. They were only asking, how can we come to Europe? They were only asking, how can we travel in places like this? Are there any international programs, you know? And this is one very important thing. So if it can come through a collaboration between the Youth at Work Partnership or other NGOs from Europe or other projects, it will be the first thing to make the voices stronger in a local level. Because if we have 15 kids, 20 kids from Seongnam city to visit a country and go abroad and come back again, it is the word of mouth is always the stronger communication channel. Okay? So this is what I would like to share from this perspective of local level. If Ondrej and Alena have something else,
Okay,
of course.
just a quick addition. Okay.
Just a very quick, I think we are experiencing new reality in this detached online youth work, you know, when we were struggling to find young people in the streets and go with youth work services to them, they escaped, like the reality escaped online, and we found detached youth work online. That's it. And I think that's normal. I mean, there will always be people who will never will never like to join. So, but we should be there where they are. That's the remark.
Ondrej?
Yeah, just very shortly as well. I also have the same experience and the same research findings as Kostas was already mentioning. You know, these peer networks, as you mentioned, that those young people who already know about you, they will come and they are open to your channels. Use them as multipliers, because they are the best to, you know, spread the news as to what is happening. But often they just don't do it on purpose, or they don't think about it. So you maybe need to push them a bit, you know, to make them aware that maybe you could tell your friend. So that, I think, would be a good strategy. And then also, of course, there is, you know, you can always have a small research to map the channels which are actually happening in your neighborhood. That, I think, would be best.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Kyungju, do you have anything to comment on? Okay. Okay. She needs, you know, to finish. She asked me to finish now, but I would like to close this forum by saying that we complete our first mission objective, to say hello and to look at each other and to console each other. Okay, you could agree? Okay, and we do have more questions than we answered, right? Actually, by raising two questions, I would like to close this forum. Number one is that you said digital competency or soft skills. Is it different from online to offline? Say social competency, teamwork skills are different. How can we train social competency by online space? Okay, I think it's a quite different dimension, you know. Even though we say the social competency must be different from online to offline. And the number two, how to deal with the social inequity problem. Even in Seongnam, Seongnam is one of the richest city in Korea, right? But we have very different sectors in our city. That very rich region, and also we are very poor region too. The part two. So by online programs, there are more gaps between two groups. So we try to focus on social inequity problem, but we have long way to go. So social equity and digital competency, that's the two keywords from our forums. So let's be continuous and keep in touch with each other, okay? And safe, and be happy, and Happy New Year, okay? Thank you very much.
Let's
Bye.
make a photo. Let's Raluca
Yes, yes. Let's take a photo.
Okay. Okay.
You learned us this nice heart last year. I will
No,
call
last
you.
year. Last year. Okay. Thank you very much, guys.
Everybody screen capture, please. So 1, 2, 3.